Well, jury deliberations did begin today in the Sean Diddy Combs federal sex trafficking trial in New York. Now, we do know that it's a 12-member panel weighing serious charges, including racketeering, conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking, and 2 counts of transporting individuals for prostitution. The jury got straight to work, but flagged a concern early on. One juror was reportedly struggling with the judge's 61-page legal instructions. The judge swiftly intervened, reiterating the importance of following the law. And joining me now to discuss more about this case is Houston attorney Nicole DeBorde. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
So let's talk about the 61 pages of instructions. Is that pretty normal for something this big?
It is something normal for something this big.
Okay.
This is a 34-witness trial, multiple charges in federal court, and each of those charges and some of the instructions relate to testimony that the jurors heard. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have instructions related specifically to the charges themselves.
Okay.
You're going to have instructions about how they should evaluate the testimony they've heard and certain evidence in the case. And so really the charges really need to incorporate every single possible issue that the jurors may need to encounter as they discuss the case.
And I guess it might be a little bit more confusing since last week they did drop some of those charges to concentrate more on the ones that I guess they thought they could really, the prosecution would have a better shot at, I guess, winning.
That's exactly right. They dropped some of the charges, and the instructions that the jurors received then pertain only to the cases or to the charges that the jurors have to decide. So they have to answer certain questions to determine whether or not he's guilty of the counts that the prosecution has indicted him for and that still remain.
Now, just going back to closing arguments and all of that, do you think it was a good idea for Diddy not to take the stand?
I think it was a very good idea for him not to take the stand. There would have been hours upon hours of cross-examination about all of the things that we already heard some of the witnesses testify about. Some of the things were just perhaps what you would consider to be salacious. Some, are certainly in the area of potential domestic violence. His own lawyer talks about the domestic violence being, a problem, but not a federal crime. And I think that would have diverted the attention of the jurors really quite a lot to some bad conduct, but maybe not conduct that rises to the level of a federal crime.
You know what's interesting to me, and I know this isn't like a lawyer question, but just as a parent, having your two, well, he has multiple children, but the 2 girls there during this whole time, it just seems so surprising a lot of times that all this testimony would be going on as they are, listening to what their dad possibly did.
Sure,
right?
Absolutely. You hit on such an important point. I mean, really, you want people from the family who love and support your client there in the courtroom, because the judge is watching, the jurors are watching. They want to see that people do care about the person who's facing these charges. On the other hand, it's got to be rough for family members to hear what really was some tough testimony about conduct and sex. I mean, things that you don't generally want your children to be hearing about, especially in a courtroom.
Definitely. And so moving forward, how long do you think, I know that there's really no way to tell, but in cases that have been possibly similar to this, how long to wait until you think possibly a verdict would be announced?
It's impossible to tell. We know this jury is already struggling. The first note was expected, and that was a note saying we've elected a 4-person. So that's standard. What was less standard is that the jurors sent out a note to the judge saying, we think we have a juror here who cannot follow the instructions. And that certainly telegraphs that they're struggling back there. Now, how long will it take them to get past whatever these struggles are? We will all wait to see.
And at this time when the jury goes to deliberation, when you have your client and you're sitting there, you're waiting, what are you all talking about, or what's usually going on during that time?
This is actually one of the hardest parts sometimes for the lawyers. You've done everything you can. You've laid it all out there on the table. You start reconstructing every single witness and every single question and objection that you made, hoping that you did enough to make sure that the jurors have what they need to make the decision that you're hoping for.
And looking at this moving forward, what do you hope comes out of it in terms of just people seeing celebrities in this light and really what they could or couldn't be doing behind closed doors?
It's such an interesting case. I mean, what I hope is that we learn that the jurors have enough information to actually come to a verdict, and that the justice system applies to everyone, whether you're famous or not famous, whether you're wealthy or you're poor. And so hopefully what we see is that it works, and that may mean different things to different people.
Right. No, that's a great answer, because it really should mean it's, justice for all. So it doesn't matter your status at all. Thank you so
Exactly.
much for this insight. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.